Look here, Broncos Country, you're not going to believe what's happening across the Atlantic right now. While most NFL teams are preparing at their traditional training facilities, our Denver Broncos are stepping onto English turf, breathing that London air and getting ready for a showdown that could define the direction of our season. And there's one detail that's got everyone scratching their heads. Payton is hiding something. Yes, you heard that right. The head coach doesn't want to reveal who's going to fill a crucial position on our team. But hold on, let's take it easy. Because this trip to England has brought news ranging from the excitement of a young quarterback to the drama of a player who crossed the ocean twice in a matter of days for a very special reason. Stick with me until the end because this situation is way more interesting than it seems. Let's start at the beginning. The Broncos landed on English soil to face the Jets next Sunday, October 12th, at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. That's right, that impressive stadium where the Tottenham soccer team plays their home games. And look, this isn't just any place. Sean Payton, our head coach, is on his third trip to London, and the guy didn't hold back on praise. He said the facilities are fantastic, the fields are immaculate, and that there seem to be about 15 or 20 fields in perfect condition. This is first-class stuff, family. The Broncos are training at the Spurs Training Center all week, and the infrastructure is providing all the necessary support for our team to arrive sharp on Sunday. Now, let's talk about numbers that matter. Payton has an undefeated record in international games when he was coaching the New Orleans Saints. 2 wins in 2 opportunities. And the Broncos also have good memories of London. In 2022, we went to Wembley and beat the Jacksonville Jaguars, 21-17. So, playing outside the United States isn't a scary novelty for this organization. But there's one player who's going to experience this for the first time, and his excitement is contagious. Bo Nix, our second-year quarterback, is living a unique moment in his career. He's never played in London, and when asked about this experience, the kid showed maturity and at the same time that characteristic energy of someone who's starting to build something big. Bo said it's awesome that it's just another game, but that the location changes things a little bit, and that it's cool to play outside the United States, to gain visibility and see what it's going to be like. Look at this young man's mindset, Broncos Country. He's treating this as a growth opportunity, not as a burden or a distraction. This mentality is exactly what we need in an offensive leader, but not everything is rosy on this transatlantic trip. Let's talk about the news from the medical department because injuries are part of the game, and we need to know how the team is dealing with it. First important news, Malcolm Roach is back at practice. This guy was out for the first 5 games of the season because of a calf injury, and now he's back on the field as of last Wednesday. This opens a 21-day window for him to officially return from injured reserve. If within these 3 weeks he's not activated, Roach becomes ineligible to play the rest of the season. But look, that's very unlikely to happen. Payton already said Roach did good work at practice, and the most likely scenario is that he'll be cleared in time for Sunday's game. Having Roach back strengthens our defensive line, and we know how crucial it is to have depth at that position, especially when you're playing physical. Tough games. Now comes the bad side of the medical news, and here things get heavy. Ben Powers, our starting left guard, didn't board the initial flight to London with the rest of the team. He stayed behind because he needed to undergo bicep surgery. And look, the prognosis isn't encouraging at all. Powers will be out for 2 months on injured reserve. 2 months, family. That's practically half of what remains of the regular season. Losing a starting offensive lineman is always a hard blow because these guys are the foundation of everything that happens on offense. Without adequate protection, the quarterback doesn't have time to make his reads. Without efficient blocking, the running game doesn't work. It's that simple. When Payton was asked about the loss of Powers, the coach maintained that classic posture of his as an experienced coach. He said it's never good to lose a starting player, but that the next man up is ready to step in and that the team will prepare to put him on the field. This is the next man up mentality that defines winning teams, Broncos Country. You can't sit around lamenting. You've got to move forward. But here comes the mystery that's got everyone speculating. Who's going to replace Ben Powers as the starter at left guard? That's the million-dollar question, and Sean Payton simply doesn't want to answer. On the Broncos' unofficial depth chart, Alex Palczewski appears listed as the backup guard, but everything indicates he'll continue playing as an extra blocking tight end in those jumbo formations we use in heavy running plays. The most logical name to take over the position would be Matt Peart. He's got the profile, he's got the experience, and it makes sense within the scheme. But when Payton was asked directly if Peart would be the starter, the answer was evasive. We'll see. We'll see. Tactics, family. Payton doesn't want to give information away for free to the opponent. He wants the Jets to have to prepare for multiple scenarios. It's a chess game, high-level strategy, and I love it when our coach does this. There's another important detail about injuries that needs to be mentioned. Jonah Ellis, our outside linebacker, didn't practice on Wednesday because of a rib and shoulder injury. This is a crucial position in our defensive scheme, especially when you need to pressure the opposing quarterback and contain runs around the edges. We'll have to monitor his progress throughout the week to know if he'll be available on Sunday. Now, let me tell you something that shows the human side of this sport we love so much. Jarrett Stidham, our backup quarterback, also didn't board the initial flight to London. But his reason was completely different and much more beautiful. His wife, Kennedy, is expecting the couple's third child, and Stidham flew back to Denver to be by her side at this moment. That's right, Broncos Country, after the surprising 21-17 victory over the Philadelphia Eagles last Sunday. While the rest of the team headed to England, Stidham caught a flight in the opposite direction to go back home. So far, there's no public news about the baby's birth, but what matters is that Stidham managed to catch a later flight to London and arrived in time for Wednesday's practice. This is the kind of move that shows that, as professional as this business is, as much as we talk about tactics and strategies, at the end of the day, there are human beings with families and lives outside the four lines. And the Broncos organization perfectly understood the situation and provided all the necessary support for Stidham to be present at this important moment. Oh, and just for the record, if for some reason Stidham hadn't been able to arrive in time, we have Sam Ehlinger as the third quarterback available behind Bo Nix. In other words, the team was covered in all scenarios. Now let's talk about the opponent. The New York Jets come into this game with a record of 0 wins and 5 losses. They're the last winless team in the entire league. Looking at just the numbers, it's easy to think it's going to be a walk in the park, that the Broncos are going to show up and dominate from start to finish. But if you think that, you don't know the NFL, and you definitely don't know Sean Payton. This guy doesn't let anyone relax, doesn't let anyone underestimate an opponent. And he made that crystal clear in his statements after practice. Payton said the players understand that in our league it's different from college. In the NFL, there's no luxury of playing against weak teams from lower divisions just to inflate your record. They're all professional teams with elite athletes, with complex tactical schemes, and any slip-up can turn into a loss. And the Broncos are going to approach the Jets exactly that way, with respect and maximum preparation. Jonathan Cooper, our outside linebacker, reinforced that message. He said Denver isn't going to ignore or underestimate any team. And Bo Nix was even more direct. The quarterback said it would even be a bit disrespectful to consider any opponent as an easy game or as a trap game. In his mind, the Jets are an NFL team and have really good players on defense. Nix was clear in saying it's not really a trap game because any game in the league can be lost if you're not careful. In the NFL, all opponents are really good. And look how interesting Bo's analysis of the Jets was. He mentioned that New York came very close to winning some games. They had close losses. They were a few crucial plays away from having 2 or 3 wins in the bag. So it's not a team that's being dominated and destroyed. It's a team that's losing in painful ways, by details, and that's dangerous. Look at the numbers, family. The Jets had a loss by just 6 points 2 weeks ago. And at the beginning of the season, they had 2 losses by just 2 points. This shows a team that's fighting, that's competitive, but that's not able to close out games. And look at the coincidence. We also know that feeling. The Broncos' 2 losses this season were on last-second field goals. We know how much it hurts to lose like that, but the difference is that last week we managed to upset the Eagles by 4 points, breaking Philadelphia's 10-game winning streak. That kind of victory builds confidence, creates momentum, and it's exactly what we need to carry to London. The game will take place on Sunday at 7:30 in the morning Eastern Time. Yes, you read that right, 7:30 in the morning. For those on the West Coast, that means waking up before 5 in the morning to watch. But I know Broncos Country will be awake, will be watching, will be cheering, no matter what time it is. Technically, the Jets are the team designated as the home team in this London game, but in practice that means absolutely nothing. It's a neutral site, no team has a crowd advantage, no team has a familiarity advantage with the stadium. It's pure football, 11 against 11, and whoever executes better wins. One thing that can't go unnoticed is the Broncos' recent history. We're coming off an impressive victory against a team that was flying high, that had won 10 straight games. Philadelphia was being considered by many as a real Super Bowl contender, and we went there and won by 4 points. That shows character, shows preparation, shows that this team has the potential to compete with anyone. Bo Nix is growing every week. Our offense is finding its identity, and the defense continues to be that aggressive. Physical unit we know and love. But getting back to the issue of injuries and substitutions, because this is going to be crucial in Sunday's game. The offensive line is literally the trenches where wars are won or lost. You can have the most talented quarterback in the world, but if he doesn't have time to throw the ball, it doesn't matter. You can have explosive running backs, but if there are no holes to run through, they're limited. Ben Powers was a fundamental piece of that machinery, and now someone's going to have to take on that role. Whether it's Matt Pert, whether it's Alex Palczewski in a tactical adjustment, whether it's any other player on the roster, that person is going to have to be ready to perform at a high level immediately. There's no time for gradual adaptation. It's London, it's Sunday, it's an official game worth points in the standings. And look what an interesting moment of the season we're experiencing. We're in Week 6, getting to the middle of the regular season. This is when teams start to define themselves, when you can see who really has substance and who was living on luck in the first few weeks. The Broncos showed resilience by beating Philadelphia. Now they need to show consistency by beating the Jets. There can be no performance fluctuation. There can be no mental relaxation. Every game is a battle. Every victory is earned through sweat and sacrifice. Tell me, Broncos Country, what do you think of this whole situation? Do you think Matt Pert will be able to hold down the left guard position with quality? Or do you think Payton has some different tactical plan up his sleeve? And about the game against the Jets, even though they have 0 wins, are you confident or do you think it could be more complicated than it seems? Comment down below. I want to know each of your opinions. Now let me talk about something important regarding this international experience. Playing in London isn't just about the game itself. It's about expanding the NFL brand, about connecting with fans on the other side of the world, about showing that American football is a global sport. And for young players like Bo Nix, this is an experience that will be marked forever. Imagine being able to tell your grandchildren that you played at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, that you crossed the Atlantic to represent your city, your team, your fans on foreign soil. This is special, family. This is bigger than just statistics and scores, and there's another interesting aspect of this trip that isn't always talked about, but that makes a difference. Jet lag, adaptation to the time zone, the change in routine. London is 5 hours ahead of the East Coast of the United States. This messes with athletes' biological clocks. That's why teams usually travel early to give the body time to adapt. The Broncos did this correctly. They arrived days in advance. They're training at Tottenham's first-class facilities, and they'll be acclimated when Sunday arrives. Sean Payton knows exactly what he's doing. The guy isn't a rookie coach. He's not someone who gets carried away by emotion or improvisation. Every detail is calculated. Every decision has a reason. When he doesn't reveal who's going to be the starter at left guard, it's not because he doesn't know. It's because he's playing the mental game with the opponent. The Jets are going to have to dedicate preparation time to multiple scenarios, which dilutes their focus. Meanwhile, internally, Payton and his coaching staff know exactly who's going to be in that position and are preparing the player in the best possible way. The Broncos defense also deserves special attention in this discussion. We have a defensive unit that's aggressive, that pressures the quarterback, that forces mistakes, that creates turnovers. Malcolm Roach coming back strengthens that defensive line even more. And even if Jonah Ellis isn't 100% or has to sit out, we have depth at that position. Payton's defensive scheme is designed precisely not to depend excessively on a single player. It's a system where everyone executes their roles, and the collective result is greater than the sum of the individual parts. The Jets, on the other hand, are in a delicate situation. 0 wins in 5 games is a hard hole to climb out of, especially in the NFL, where parity is great and every game matters a lot for playoff chances. But as Bo Nix mentioned, they're dangerous precisely because they're desperate for a win. A team with 0 wins has nothing to lose. They're going to play free, they're going to take risks, they're going to try bold plays. And that can be unpredictable. That's why Payton's and the players' message about not underestimating the opponent is so important. Now, if you're true Broncos Country, go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a single play of this exciting season. Turn on notification bell because we're going to be here every week bringing analysis, news, and everything happening in the Denver Broncos universe. This family is growing, and each of you is part of this journey. Going back to the tactical details of what might happen on the field on Sunday, let's think about the offensive scheme. With the loss of Powers, the offensive line is going to need adjustments. Maybe we'll see more plays with tight ends helping in protection. Maybe we'll see Bo Nix having to get rid of the ball faster, using the short passing game to neutralize defensive pressure. Maybe we'll see more runs to the right side of the line where presumably there will be fewer adjustments and more stability. Payton is creative enough to design a game plan that minimizes weaknesses and maximizes strengths. And about Bo Nix, let's talk a little more about the development of this young quarterback. He's in his 2nd season, and his growth has been remarkable. Against Philadelphia, he showed composure in pressure moments, made smart decisions, and led important drives. This is exactly what you want to see from a developing quarterback. Every game is a lesson, every situation is a learning opportunity. And playing in London with all the different context, with the pressure of representing the franchise internationally, this is going to shape his character even more as a player and as a leader. The Broncos fan base, even being thousands of miles away, will do their part. They'll wake up early, they'll make coffee, they'll put on their orange and blue jerseys, and they'll cheer with all their intensity. Because being Broncos Country isn't just about being in the stadium. It's about carrying the team in your heart, no matter where you are, no matter what time it is. It's about believing, about supporting, about being part of something bigger. The New York Jets will take the field, desperately wanting to break this negative streak. They're going to be motivated. They're going to be focused. They're going to give everything they have. But the Broncos have something that goes beyond momentary motivation. We have structure. We have scheme. We have a winning coach. We have talented players who are buying into the team's philosophy. And we have momentum, that invisible but real force that comes from beating a great opponent the previous week. Think with me, family. Philadelphia had 10 consecutive wins. They were flying high, everyone talking about them as serious title contenders. And we went there and won. That's not luck. That's competence. That's preparation meeting opportunity. And now, against the Jets, we have the chance to consolidate that victory, to show it wasn't a fluke, to build our own positive streak. Of course, there are risks. There are always risks. Powers' offensive line, at least temporarily, until someone takes over and establishes themselves in the position. The Jonah Ellis situation could impact the defense if he's not available. The time zone and travel could affect some players' performance. But good teams overcome adversity. Good teams find ways to win even when conditions aren't perfect, and Sean Payton has a track record of preparing his teams for these situations. Remember, he's 2-0 in international games? That's not a coincidence. He understands the nuances, understands the logistical challenges, understands how to keep players focused and ready. His experience is worth gold in these circumstances. So what to expect from Sunday's game? Expect a Denver Broncos team that's focused, prepared, respecting the opponent, but confident in their own ability. Expect Bo Nix trying to continue his evolution, making smart reads, distributing the ball to receivers, protecting the football. Expect the defense to be aggressive, pressuring the Jets' quarterback, forcing punts and turnovers. Expect an offensive line fighting to compensate for Power's absence and keep Bo protected. Expect a tough, physical, competitive game. The Jets aren't going to give anything away for free. They're going to fight for every yard. They're going to contest every pass. They're going to try to make the game a battle of wills. But if the Broncos execute the game plan, if they maintain discipline, if they play as a cohesive unit, victory is totally possible. And not just possible, but expected. So, Denver Broncos family, are you ready for this international showdown? Are you going to be watching even with the challenging time? I want to see everyone awake, everyone pumped, everyone representing Broncos Country with pride. Because moments like this are what make this sport so special. It's not just about the game itself. It's about the shared experience, about being together with millions of fans around the world, experiencing the same emotion, cheering for the same goal. Leave a like on this video if you're excited about this game in London. Share it with that friend who's also a Broncos fan and needs to know everything that's happening. Comment below what your score prediction is, who you think will be the game standout, what you expect to see from our team. The community here is strong, and the more we interact, the more we grow together. Broncos Country, the show is about to begin. London awaits us. The Jets are warned, and the Denver Broncos will take that Tottenham Hotspur Stadium field ready to represent, ready to win, ready to show the entire world why this franchise is so special. Until the next video, and let victory come on Sunday.